just remember, like, he was telling me one of these stories about when he was, like, he loves to play basketball. So he was playing basketball in one of the basketball courts when he was younger. And, like, he was walking home, and he had his basketball in his arm. And it's like three Samoans, like big Samoans. They come up to him like, hey, give me your basketball. And my uncle says sorry because he's Filipino, and he looks really Filipino too. He reaches behind him and, like, grabs over here, because he knew, like, all the Filipinos at that time, they all had knives, and they all carried their knives right there in the back. So someone's like, you Filipino? It's like, yeah, why? You know? Yeah, why you ask? You know? He's like, all right, I'll leave you alone. So my uncle says so. I mean, even growing up in the Philippines, he's gone through, like, a lot of, like, different crazy stuff. I can't even remember all the stories. But then, like, also, like, this man, like, I mean, as hard as he is, like, on the outside, he's such a soft-hearted person, you know. Like, you talk to him, like, he really, really, like, feels love, you know, for his family. Like, talk to him about my cousin Carl, like, he really tried to help him, you know, like, through, like, all of his, like, drug problems. Like, he was a really, like, he's a heartful person. And today, like, what I wanted to talk about is one of the most inspiring characters in the Bible for me, personally, was Jonathan. You know, everyone gets caught up in, like, oh, okay, like, there's Saul, and he's, like, the great fall of Saul, and then the great rising of David. Like, no one really sees, like, the guy in the middle between those two things. There's Jonathan there, you know, helping out David. So, yeah, the title of my lesson today is A Man of Conviction. And I wanted to start off in 1 Samuel, where we see Jonathan, he just comes onto the scene. In 1 Samuel chapter 13.
What's that?
We'll see, like, one of the first things that Jonathan did is recorded in the Bible.
What's that?
In 1 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 3, it says, Jonathan attacked the Philistine outpost in Geba, and the Philistines heard about it. Then Saul had a trumpet blown throughout the land and said, let the Hebrews hear, so that all Israel heard the news. Saul has attacked the Philistine outpost, and now Israel has become obnoxious to the Philistines. And the people were summoned to join Saul at Gilgal. So right here, like, the first thing that you read about Jonathan is that I don't know what happened, like, it doesn't really say why, but he just attacked one of the outposts of the Philistines. So I can just kind of imagine, like, this guy, like, he wants to do something, you know? He wants to do something, he wants to get something done. And, like, he goes and attacks the Philistine outpost, and it's like, oh, like, Saul, like, oh, I have to deal with this problem. Now the Philistines think we're obnoxious. And, like, they just muster this huge army to fight Israel. Like, the Bible describes the army of the Philistines were so massive that it says it was countless as the sand on the beach. Like, that's how many soldiers. Like, you look out there, and it's like you see, like, sand on the beach, pretty much. Like, that's how massive that army was. And, like, Jonathan kind of, like, started this whole mess by attacking the outpost.
Come on, Jonathan.
You know, like, he's just like, oh, I want to get something done, I want to do something. He attacks that outpost, and then boom, you got a war. And attack the outpost, boom, get a war. And the Israelites, at this time, like, they have, like, no weapons. They go down to, like, the Philistine blacksmith, and they start sharpening, like, farming tools, like sickles, pitchforks. Like, these people, like, had nothing compared to the Philistines. So it's like, okay, the Philistines are probably going to take them out right here. So you can imagine, like, the kind of trouble, like, how, like, his ear must have gotten chewed out, like, I don't know how many times by, like, his father Saul, just starting this humongous war. But I want to start off, my first point is about Jonathan, a faithful warrior. Jonathan is a faithful warrior. And we'll start off in 1 Samuel chapter 14. In 1 Samuel chapter 14, we'll see what's going on here. In 1 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 1, it says, now a detachment of Philistines had gone out to the pass at Michmash. One day Jonathan, son of Saul, said to his young armor-bearer, come, let us go over to the Philistine outpost on the other side. But he did not tell his father. Saul was staying on the outskirts of Gibeah, under a pomegranate tree in Migron. With him were about 600 men, among whom was Ahiah, who was wearing an ephod. He was the son of Ichabod's brother, Ahitub, son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the Lord's priest in Shiloh. No one was aware that Jonathan had left. So we'll start right here. We'll see, like, it says that a detachment of the Philistine army went out. And like right here, like before any of this happens, before Jonathan gets this bright idea to go attack this outpost again, it describes the army of Israel, and there's like only like 3,000 men. And you see right here, like it just says, the men that were with Saul, there's only 600. So people were fleeing. People, like it says that the men of Israel's army was just scattering. As soon as they saw the army of the Philistines, they just turned tail and ran. You know, they just turned tail and ran. They were hiding in bushes, hiding in the holes in the ground, hiding in caves. They're just doing anything that they could in order to run away from this massive army, just flee for their lives. You know? And you can kind of imagine like Saul with his 600 men going up against this huge army, like thinking like, okay, how in the world am I going to pull this off with pitchforks and like sickles and stuff? And then you see Jonathan, he goes out and he's like, oh, let's go attack the Philistine outpost again. Let's do it again. Just me and you, armor bearers. Me and you, man. We can do this. We got this, man. And we'll start off in verse 4. It says, on each side of the pass that Jonathan intended to cross to reach the Philistine outpost was a cliff. One was called Bozez, the other Sineh. One cliff stood to the north toward Michmash, and the other south toward Gibeah. Jonathan said to his young armor-bearer, come, let us go to the outpost of those uncircumcised men. Perhaps the Lord will act on our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. Verse 7, do all that you have in mind, his armor-bearer said. Go ahead, I am with you, heart and soul. Jonathan said, come on, then, we will cross over toward them and let them see us. If they say to us, wait there until we come to you, we will stay where we are and not go up to them. But if they say, come up to us, we will climb up, because that will be a sign that the Lord has given them into our hands. So both of them showed themselves to the Philistine outpost. Look, said the Philistines, the Hebrews are crawling out of the holes they were hiding in. The men of the outpost shouted to Jonathan and his armor-bearer, come up to us and we'll teach you a lesson. So Jonathan said to his armor-bearer, climb up after me. The Lord has given them into the hand of Israel. Jonathan climbed up using his hands and feet, and with his armor-bearer right behind him. The Philistine fell before Jonathan, and his armor-bearer followed and killed behind him. And in the first attack, Jonathan and his armor-bearer killed some 20 men in an area about half an acre. So right here we just see like this miraculous victory that Jonathan pulled out of his hat, pretty much. You know, he leaves the 600 men that was with Saul. And like I just kind of think like Jonathan, like the guy just wants to make something happen. It's like, okay, we're sitting here doing nothing. Okay, the 600 men, you guys are all scared, whatever, I'm just going to go. Like, hey, you, come with me, and let's just go. So just two guys, and they're coming up, and like there's this cliff, and they have to even climb up the cliff to defeat this outpost of Philistines. So you look at their situation in every way, they're just totally at a disadvantage. The Philistines had the higher ground, they were outnumbered, they had better weapons than he had, you know? Just in every way, it's like they're going to be defeated. You know, in every way, the Philistines had every confidence, like, oh, we got this, we'll teach you a lesson, come up here, we'll teach you a lesson, you know? But then Jonathan's like, we're going to do this, we're going to win, you know? Like, oh, like God can do anything, whether with many or with few, God will make this happen. So you see right here, like, Jonathan's, like, faith right here. He's not just, like, some impulsive dude that just goes around, like, you know, making stuff happen just to see the outcome. Like, you see, like, this guy's heart behind everything that he's doing. Like, the reason why he left is, like, he wanted to see what happened because he knew that God can make anything happen, no matter what the situation is.
That's right.
Like, he saw the situation, he saw how many Philistines are out there, he understood, like, oh, these uncircumcised men, nothing can hinder God from saving us, whether by many or by few.
Come on.
And, like, just with his armor-bearer, his armor-bearer probably doesn't even have a sword, only Jonathan has a sword because he's royalty, right? And he just goes around and he's just, like, killing all these Philistines, and the armor-bearer is just right behind him. I can't even imagine, like, what he looks like, just with his hands, like, just anything, trying to stab, you know, people right behind Jonathan, you know? Just trying to, like, fight, you know, just with anything they has.
Hardcore.
Exactly. Like, right after they climbed up, they're just killing people. And it says that they killed 20 people. Two guys, one that has, you know, some equipment, and one that has, like, literally nothing, killed 20 men, 20 soldiers that were completely, you know, trained, and every reason they should have won, they totally were defeated. And we'll see, like, the outcome of after this in verse 15. See what happened in this. I said in verse 15, it says, then panic struck the whole army. those in the camp and field, and those in the outposts and raiding parties, and the ground shook. It was a panic sent by God. Saul's lookouts at Gibeah and in Benjamin saw the army melting away in all directions. Then Saul said to the men who were with him, "Muster the forces and see who has left us." When they did, it was Jonathan and his armor-bearer who were not there. Saul said to Ahijah, "Bring the ark of God." At this time it was with the Israelites. While Saul was talking to the priest, the tumult of the Philistine camp increased more and more. So Saul said to the priest, "Withdraw your hand." Then Saul and all of his men assembled and went to the battle. They found the Philistines in total confusion, striking each other with their swords. Those Hebrews who had previously been with the Philistines had gone up with them to their camp, went over to the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. When all Israelites who had hidden in the hill country of Ephraim heard that the Philistines were on the run, they joined the battle in hot pursuit. So on that day, the Lord saved Israel, and the battle moved on beyond Beth-Aven. So you see right here, through Jonathan's faith, through his initiative to make something happen for God, God was able to use that to save Israel. That small little event, just two guys killing maybe 20 people, just sent a panic throughout the entire army of the Philistines. It says that the ground literally shook, and it was a panic sent by God. And then, looking back, it says that the men that were hiding in the holes, they saw what was happening, and they joined the fight. But then it's like you gotta think, the men that were hiding, the men outside of Jonathan in the armor-bearer situation, had the exact same opportunity that Jonathan had. I mean, they could have done the exact same thing. I mean, they were hiding. Nobody knew where they were. They could have at least, done a surprise attack or something. These men, just as strong, probably even stronger than Jonathan, could have done the same exact thing. But instead, that they're just hiding. They're just trying to survive, pretty much, because they're so scared, so scared of what could happen. So right here, I just want to apply it to us. It's Jonathan was able to do these things for God because of his faith. It wasn't because he was impulsive. It wasn't because he just had a bright idea, but because he had the faith in God that he knew that things will happen because God will make it happen. He was able to do these things for God. And these men that were hiding in the holes, they were completely faithless. They could have done the same exact thing that Jonathan did, but instead they're just hiding, trying to survive. And maybe we're not in any kind of army situation, any wars right now physically. Going out every day, you wake up in the morning, you have to go fight an army. Maybe we don't have to do that, but this is our life spiritually.
Yep.
Spiritually, we're constantly at battle, constantly at war. With ourselves, with other people out there trying to save each other's souls. Even with each other, we can be fighting. And it's if we're those men that are hiding in the holes, we're pretty much those people that are just trying to survive spiritually. Just trying to do the minimum. Not really going out of their comfort zone. Not really trying to do anything crazy, radical, like a disciple. They're just hiding in that hole, hoping that nobody will notice them and that the enemy will not see them and kill them.
Yeah.
And that's how we can be spiritually. But at the same time, Jonathan, because of his faith in God, he was able to do great things. He took the initiative. He didn't wait for anybody. He didn't even wait for his father to get a clue. He just went out there and made it happen with him and his armor bearer.
Come on, sir.
And he was able to make that happen because of the faith that he had in God.
Yep.
So guys, I want to ask you, where is your faith in God? What was the last big thing that you did in your life, that big change that you did to challenge yourself in order to grow spiritually? Or are you just like those men that are hiding in the holes, just holding on the string, just hoping that they can just make it, just trying to survive, just doing the minimum? Maybe you wake up in the morning, you have your quiet time, and that's it. Just day to day, just trying to survive. It's where are you guys at? Where's your heart? Are you in a hole somewhere? Crying? I don't know. Just so scared to go outside. Or are you like Jonathan, taking initiative, having the faith in God to do great things, despite the situation? Guys, I want to challenge you. Don't be like those men that are hiding in the holes. Don't be like those wimps that are just chilling out in the bushes. Maybe even trying to wait for someone else, I don't want to do this, I know I don't want to do this. Someone else can do it, you know. I just wait for someone else to make something happen. And then, you know, like, oh, okay, I'll follow them, you know. Like, I don't have to make anything happen. Somebody else will just do it, you know. Or are you like Jonathan, like inspired by your faith in God, like you're taking initiative, making things happen in your life, you know. Are we just following the leader, or are we just waiting for the leader to tell us what we need to do? Or are we doing things out of our own initiative because of the faith that we have in God?
Come on, bro.
So my second point.
Zach, good stuff, bro. Get out.
My second point is the strength of brothers, or the bond of brotherhood.
Come on, this is great.
You know, we see like the side of Jonathan, that this warrior, this like Hercules figure. It's like, oh, I'll just keep moving forward. I'll persevere. I'll take anything. I'll take anyone down because God will give them into my hands, you know. Like this faith in God that he'll just fight like this warrior. But then there's this other side of Jonathan as well, you know. Like, not only was he famous for causing a war, but he also had a deep understanding of a relationship with another person. His best friend David. So let's start off in 1 Samuel chapter 18.
Come on, bro.
In 1 Samuel chapter 18 and in verse 1, it says, after David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family, and Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off his robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic, and even his sword, his bow, and his belt. So you see right here, like, I don't know how often, like, you guys give each other, you know, clothes and weapons and stuff like that. But, like, this is really a big deal for Jonathan's relationship, you know? This is a big deal, what's going on. Like, look at Jonathan. Jonathan is of royal blood. Saul was the king of Israel, one of the most powerful empires of its time. And he was the son, he was the heir. If Jonathan gets taken out, Jonathan becomes king. So he was next in line, kind of like, he probably had some, it's like, yeah, check me out, I got my robes on, I got my sword, no one of you guys have swords, you guys are wearing pitchforks and stuff, But like, he's got a sword, he's got his robes, he's looking nice. But he understood that David was chosen by God to be king. And right here, he's giving David his robes, he's giving him his sword, he made a covenant with him, he's giving him everything that he has. Because he understood, he knows that I am not the next guy. David is the next guy. So he's not just giving up clothes and material things, but by this he's like symbolizing his love for David, and he's giving up his right to the throne, giving it to David. Because he understood that David was chosen by God. And that even so that they were still able to have this strong relationship with each other. It wasn't like any like bitterness, like, oh, this guy's better than me, like any like no competition. It was just purely just love for each other, and just having that bond that will not be broken. And you see, like the famous part about David's life is basically, Saul tries to throw a spear at him, and for the rest of David's life, he's running away from Saul, and Saul's just totally just trying to kill him at any cost. And Jonathan is his best friend, is just trying to figure out what's going on. At first, he's confused. Like David tells Jonathan, "Your father is trying to kill me," and Jonathan's like, "Never. Why would he kill you? You're awesome, That doesn't make any sense. Like, everything you do is successful. Like, you please him, you give him everything that he wants. Why would he want to kill you?" And then later on, as you see throughout David's life and throughout Saul, as he falls further and further and further, like David comes to Jonathan again, "Bro, your dad is trying to kill me, man. He's nuts. Like, he threw spears at me, man. Like, that's not normal. Like, he's trying to kill me." And Jonathan, they come up with a whole plan in order for Jonathan to find out if it's true or not and be able to protect David in the way. So David's hiding out in the field, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story, but depending on, like, Jonathan, he liked to fire his arrows at the field. I don't know why, but he would go out into the field and he'd just shoot arrows, and if they fell in a certain place, that was a sign for David to either run or to see if it was safe. So let's pick it up in 1 Samuel chapter 20.
Come on, bro.
And we'll see what kind of stuff that Jonathan had to go through. In 1 Samuel chapter 20 and in verse 30. In verse 30, it says, Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan. This is after Jonathan told Saul the reason why David's not at the table eating with him. And it says in verse 30, Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, You son of a perverse and rebellious woman. Don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse? To your own shame, and to the shame of the mother who bore you? As long as the son of Jesse lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now send someone to bring him to me, for he must die. In verse 22, Why should he be put to death? What has he done? Jonathan asked his father. But Saul hurled his spear at him to kill him. Then Jonathan knew that his father intended to kill David. I wonder why. In verse 34, Jonathan got up from the table and in fierce anger. And on that second day of the feast, he did not eat, because he was grieved at his father's shameful treatment of David. In the morning, Jonathan went out to the field for his meeting with David. He had a small boy with him, and he said to the boy, Run and find the arrows I shoot. As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy came to the place where Jonathan's arrow had fallen, Jonathan called out after him, Isn't the arrow beyond you? Then he shouted, Hurry, go quickly, don't stop. The boy picked up the arrow and returned to his master. The boy knew nothing about all this. Only Jonathan and David knew. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy and said, Go, carry them back to town. After the boy had gone, David got up from the south side of the stone and bowed down before Jonathan 3 times, with his face to the ground. Then they kissed each other and wept together, but David wept the most. Amen. Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever. Then David left, and Jonathan went back to the town. So you see, kind of Jonathan's side of the story. The kind of things that he had to deal with Saul's anger towards David. Imagine, your own father, so angry, just with the intent to kill your best friend, and you're just sitting there, trying to reason with your father, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to kill your best man? And he doesn't even want to respond. He just throws a spear at you. I don't know if anybody's been thrown a spear at you before, but, it's pretty intense. This guy has the intent to kill you, not only David, but you as well, his own son, his heir to the throne. And he tells you, you will never be established. Your kingdom and you will never be established. That will never happen. And he says you're a son of a perverse and rebellious woman. It actually says a little bit something more severe in different translations, but But yeah, Saul is just totally angry, and it's putting yourself in Jonathan's shoes, your father, the person that you probably looked up to, the person that raised you, is just angry not at just your best friend, but at you, and he wants to kill you. And he's insulting your mom. I don't know, that's just the thought of someone insulting your mom, that alone will just take you off, right? And then it says, Jonathan left that table in fierce anger, and ashamed. He was ashamed of his own father because of his actions. So Jonathan finally got the clue, okay, yeah, he is trying to kill David. And you just see, this kind of relationship that Jonathan had with David. It says they swore in friendship before God. They made a vow to each other before God. And a vow to God, okay, maybe you've made some promises in your life, but a promise to God, that is a serious thing to do. You do not want to break a promise with God. There's extreme consequences for that. But then Jonathan and David, they swore to each other out of their love and their friendship for each other. And then the rest of David's life, he's just going through all these different struggles. He loses pretty much everything that he had. His role model, his father figure in his life, wants to kill him. He loses his wife, he loses his ranking, all that he's worked hard to do, he loses everything. And this whole time, he's got a few followers, but it says the people that are around him are scoundrels. People that are rejected by society and that he's the only one that accepts them. And the only time, David, I could just imagine David just feeling so alone in all these different things that he's going through. But the only person that really had his back was God and Jonathan. Because of their friendship was so deep. It was something deeper than just brotherhood, It says that Jonathan loved David as himself. It wasn't just a brother-brother thing. It's I love you as much as I love myself. They were united. And because of that, he was able to be there for David. even when his own father wants to even kill him, he was able to suffer those consequences. And it's like, okay, how does that relationship match our relationship with each other as men? You know? Like, okay, yeah, I mean, we are men, right? It's kind of like against society for us to show emotion. But it's
Kiss
like,
each other.
or even kiss each other, yeah. It's like, they say they kiss each other.
Wow.
But it's like how does this relationship that Jonathan had with David match your closest relationship with the kingdom? Like, can you say that you have someone that you feel this way towards in the kingdom as disciples? You know, as brothers that are fighting the war on evil, the war on terror in the entire world? Can you say that you have someone that you trust in the kingdom that has your back? I mean, God will always be there for you. But what's more important, our relationship with God, but also our relationship with each other. So, turn with me to Hebrews chapter 3.
Come on, Zach.
Bro.
Come on.
We need to have each other's backs in this war that we're fighting against.
Right.
In Hebrews chapter 3, and verse 12, it says, "See to it, brothers and sisters, that none of you has a sinful, unbelieving heart that turns away from the living God. But encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. We have come to share in Christ, if indeed we hold our original conviction firmly to the very end." So right here it's talking about like, okay, see to it, brothers, that we encourage each other. That none of us have a sinful and unbelieving heart. And it's like this is how we can have each other's back. Like, think about those people that were in your life as a disciple. Like, one person that I think about that helped me just to be a disciple, just to grow, is this brother that I looked up to a lot. His name is Curtis Valdez. And not a lot of them, there's some of us here that may not have a really deep relationship with him, but a lot of us know him, or at least have heard of him. So, like this guy, he discipled me. He walked with me a whole year of my disciple life, which is kind of rare in itself. Like, you're always jumping around, like different things happen in the kingdom. You know, you get different disciples. But this guy was with me for a whole year, and he helped me and taught me and walked with me and pushed me in order for me to change and to become a better man for God. Not to make myself, feel good, but so that I can just please God with everything that I do. And I believe, like, if it wasn't for Kurt, like, if I didn't have someone like that in my life, I have my, I have close friends. I have my best friends, like Bryson and different people that are in my life. But Kurt was the one that was really pushing me. That wasn't really like a peer, but more like a mentor. And he's like a coach, just constantly pushing me. Always telling me, like, hey man, I believe in you. I know you can do this. I know you can do this. So go do it.
Yeah.
And it's like if it wasn't for Kurt in my life, I don't know. I know that I would have been growing, but maybe not. I wouldn't be here right now, like speaking to you guys. Kurt was the guy that gave me the first opportunity to preach in the first place. The first lesson I ever preached was at Depot, and he gave me that opportunity. And it's like I was able to have that relationship because God made that relationship happen in my life. So it's kind of like to think about your own life. Like, who in your life can you feel that way to? Who is your David? Or who is your Jonathan in that sense? Like, who is your close relationship that you can count on that guy will have your back? Even if everything goes crazy, like if you're just in complete sin, I don't know, like he will be there and he'll help you out and push you through it and help you to persevere. Because we are fighting a war every single day. Yep. And if we don't have each other's back, we won't be able to even move forward one step. We'll always constantly be backpedaling. So we need to make it our business to get into each other's life and to keep each other accountable. To have that relationship so that we know what's going on in each other's lives. Yeah. You're like, how many brothers can you even open up to? How many people do you try to help? Do you even know like what kind of things are going on in each other's lives, or do you even have that kind of communication? Do you even talk to each other? And it's like, if you can't even do that, like, how do you expect to be able to help each other survive spiritually? Guys, we need to make it our business. We need to see to it. The Bible says, see to it that no one has this heart. And encourage each other. Like, how do we see to it? We encourage each other daily, as long as it's called today. And today is every day. So So guys, like, get into each other's lives and get that accountability.
Come on, bro.
Build those relationships that you can be united and love each other as yourself. Even higher than that, love each other as Jesus has loved us.
Yeah.
You know, back on reflecting on my Uncle Cesar, you know, like he had those two things, you know, like, I mean, I don't know my Uncle Cesar like the best, you know. I just know him as my uncle, and like I'm his nephew, right? Never had that like, on par relationship with him. I was always the uncle and nephew. But like he has this hard man, but he's also this soft man. Just like Jonathan. He was able to go out and fight wars and just slaughter people. Just go out and just be ruthless. Make things happen. But the only reason why he was able to do that is because his faith in God. He was a faithful warrior. But even though like he understood the strength of brotherhood, he understood how strong the bond of brotherhood can be. So guys, I want to urge you, please imitate the character of Jonathan. You know, take that initiative, be inspired by your relationship with God, and work hard and fight for each other to build that relationship. Thank you. God bless.